Hello, everybody. Dr. Christine Kaczmar here. You are listening to episode 31 of Smart Digestion Radio. And on today's episode, we are going to explore the stress equation. Stay tuned.
There are certain bodily things a lady doesn't discuss. Unless it's this lady. Welcome to Smart Digestion Radio with Dr. Christine Kaczmar, the Poop Scoop Show for the wellness-minded.
Alrighty, thank you for joining me. Thanks for listening. I appreciate you guys taking time out of your day when you can be doing so many things to listen to my podcast. So today, I am going to explore with you the stress equation. And so what I want you to imagine is a thermometer. At the very bottom of the thermometer, the very lowest point, if you will, this is where you have very little stress. So this is a great place to have homeostasis, normal function, all of that jazz. Okay, where you're feeling well, functioning well, you have a lot of energy, you're sleeping soundly, your concentration is great, no brain fog, none of that. This is the bottom part of the thermometer. As we make our way elevated or more vertical, the highest point is the most stress. Okay, and so death would be at the very top, right? Nobody wants that, but that's all inevitable, of course. It's just how fast are we going to get there? And so this is very much in our control. Granted, some things aren't, right? Accidents happen. This is not what I'm referring to. What I'm talking about is being accountable, making the right choices, doing all that we can so that we stay in the low portion of the stress thermometer. So the highest point is the most stress, death. The lowest point is where healthiest function is. Now, one of the things in practice that I would do with my patients is I'm checking to see if they have muscle contractions. Why I'm looking for muscle contractions is very, very purposeful. When we have stress, the endoderm, ectoderm, mesoderm tissue of our body, they react. Day 21 in utero, in fact, our skin, organ, and muscle tissue all communicates and is connected and communicates thereafter. So when we see a muscle contraction, and I'm not talking about a muscle contraction derived from some kind of a physical trauma, or if somebody is lifting weights and their muscles are, they're growing and they're changing. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about in a state of rest. If we have a muscle contraction somewhere, that is a sign of stress. And so when you have a muscle contraction, you are also going to have organ stress, possibly skin stress. Okay, maybe things like acne, psoriasis, eczema may be noted. This is usually all liver related. Okay, so the liver has very much an important play. As I like to say, it's the quarterback of the gut. It's processing and metabolizing all your fats, your carbs, and your proteins. But specifically, when we think of acne, we think of teenagers, and the acne is a result of the fats and proteins being pushed out through the skin, hormones, if you will. Hormones are made by fats and proteins. And when the body is not properly digesting fats and proteins, the liver is going to say, hey, get this out of here, and it's going to push it out through the skin. That's a really, really generic summation of what's going on there, but that's a lot of what you need to know about the liver. So, muscle contractions, vibrational changes. These are things that I'm looking for when patients come to see me. And so if you're interested in working with me in the physical location that I'm in Shelby Township, Michigan. I've had people fly as far away as Australia to come see me for this test. This is a very important test because I'm looking to see what are your muscle contractions like when you have fasted for 8 hours, and then what happens after I give you something healthy to eat that's equal amounts of your fat, carb, protein. And so this is a specific tea that I give that's made from pumpkin, flax, fennel, and fig powder. So what happens 45 minutes after you consume that tea? What muscle contractions am I now seeing? And so some of the muscle test points, and by the way, I'm doing all the work here. My patients just lay on their back, and I'm not putting anything in their hand. This is not an AK or applied kinesiology maneuver. That's not what this is. Not judging that, but that's not what I do. I am simply putting my hands on my patients right over their clothes, and I'm feeling for these different muscle contractions. So I'm looking at things like spleen, liver, vitamin C, amino acids, female hormone, adrenal cortex, adrenal medulla, and so on and so forth. I'm checking more than 20 points before and after. This is a real digestive challenge test to see what is the body showing me when I give it something healthy even. Because the phrase, you are what you eat, false. You are what you eat, false. Better said, you are what you digest. And that's what I'm interested in finding out. But let's just say you don't live locally, or you're not going to make the effort to fly from Australia, which I understand. I understand. Well, can I still help you? The answer is, of course I can. I just would not be able to do the muscle contraction test. But if you go to virtualdigestiondoc.com, there are 3 ways that we could work together long distance. Okay? So as you start to stress, as you start to inch up this thermometer, the first sign of stress are these muscle contractions. And these are things that you don't necessarily feel, right? That's what's so important about what I've said in previous podcasts and teachings, is that you cannot judge your health by how you feel. You cannot judge your health by how you feel. You have to judge your health by how well your body functions, because sometimes feeling lousy is a healthy response, not a sick response. What do I mean? Well, let's say that you're vomiting after you eat something that's toxic, that has too much E. coli in it, or has some kind of bacteria. If you eat that and moments later you vomit, that's a healthy response, right? That's not a sick response. That's a healthy response. But you don't feel well, but you're functioning well. Do you understand? The converse is, let's say that you feel fantastic, but you have a tumor growing, or one of your arteries is blocked, or you're calcium deficient, or you're vitamin C deficient. You don't feel those things happening. And in this case, you may feel well, but you're functioning poorly. Okay? Now, as we inch up this thermometer, this stress thermometer, the more vertical we go on the thermometer, the sicker you become, right? So the first sign of stress are these muscle contractions. And in fact, only approximately 10% of your nerves feel pain, by the way. 10% of your nerves have to do with pain. That's intentional, right? That's because our society would be one where we would be walking around even crazier than maybe we already are. If we felt more pain, we would be literally a destructive society, in my view. So it's good that only 10% of our nerves feel pain. Otherwise, we would just be manic, right? Now, the next aspect of the stress thermometer that starts to, once the stress accumulates, the next level is sleep disorders. So if you're having a hard time sleeping, you can't sleep soundly, or you wake up at different times of the night, this is more than a muscle contraction stress. Now we're getting a little bit more serious, if you will. We're kind of in the yellow zone. With black being death, we're yellow. And so the higher up we go, we're going from yellow, orange, red, even darker red, black. Okay, that's how I want you to kind of envision this stress thermometer I'm talking about. So muscle contractions, now it's hitting our sleep, it's affecting our rest, and understand that when we sleep, this is when our body rejuvenates. This is when our body repairs. So this is very important. We are electrical beings. Just like your cell phone, just like your computer, we need to plug in and recharge and reboot, and this is what sleep does. A problem with America is that we don't nap enough. In America, we feel we need to hustle. We feel like we need to do all these things. We need to work 10 hours. We need to be go, right? Well, that's not good, because we need to nap. We need to take it easy. This is where we could rejuvenate throughout the day as well. So I'm a fan of napping. I don't get to nap as much as I would like, but I know how essential it is, and I try to make sure I nap every weekend on Saturday for sure. Kind of impossible during the week, but try whenever you can to get that nap in. As we inch up now to the dark yellow, light orange aspect of the stress thermometer, now we're hitting into the musculoskeletal changes. So these would be symptoms like back or neck pain, stiff sore joints, headaches, maybe even some shoulder problems, maybe even some fibromyalgia. As we increase on the stress thermometer past that, now we're starting to see changes in our blood. So these would be things like maybe we're getting high cholesterol in our blood work, maybe we're seeing high triglycerides, high or low blood sugar, too many or not enough red or white blood cells, blood clots, anemia issues, and so on. As we get to a darker red now, darker orange, early red, we're now seeing tissue changes. Things like bone loss, endometriosis, ulcers, bursitis, ligaments that are really becoming loose, colitis, Crohn's, skin problems, liver enzymes being seen out of balance. And by the way, let me just stop and say that when I say liver enzymes, I'm talking about liver destruction that's starting to show itself up in the bloodstream. And this is most often caused by prescription drugs. So don't get confused with the enzyme work that I do with high liver enzymes, because you don't want that, right? You don't want your liver enzymes to be elevated. Most often that's a sign of prescription drugs, most often. But it can also be very much linked to this thermometer of stress. So if you're not taking care of yourself, you're going to start moving up this thermometer, starting with the muscle contractions. Then it's going to affect sleep. Then it's going to affect your musculoskeletal area. Then it's going to affect your blood. Now it's affecting your tissue. And right before death, the very last stop on the stress thermometer is disease. So these are things that you have heard of often, like heart disease, kidney disease, diabetes, cancer, and so on. So the higher up and the more vertical you go on the stress thermometer, the more catastrophic that's going to be. So let's review. If we have the thermometer at the very bottom, the blue area, that's low stress. That's what we want. Things where you're feeling well, you're functioning well, you have a lot of energy, you're sleeping well, you have great concentration. Now, as we start to become stressed or move out of homeostasis or balance, first thing we're going to notice are vibrational changes or muscle contractions. These are things that you're not going to necessarily feel, but by the proper practitioner or doctor, they can notice this. Then it's going to affect our sleep. Then it's going to affect our joints. We're going to have things like achy joints, sore knees, headaches, tennis elbow, shoulder issues. Maybe you can't lift your shoulder over your head properly from one side to the other. Start looking at that. You should be very mobile left to right or bilaterally. So pay attention to that. If you can't raise your arm over your head as well on one side versus another, that's a stress. Let's take a break for just a moment and hear from our sponsor, the 4daycleanse.com. Do any of these symptoms describe your energy levels? Tired, sluggish, lazy, brain fog, irritable, forgetful, dull, unmotivated, or lacking any ambition? I recommend my 4-day green juice cleanse. This is unlike any cleanse that's out there, meaning there's not a lot of sugar. Okay, so this is mostly vegetables being juiced, very low on the sugar, but very healing. This includes all of the videos for you, all of the recipes for you, instantly downloaded to your cell phone or your computer for $19.97. To check out my 4-day revitalizing juices, go to the4daycleanse.com. That's the4daycleanse.com. Why don't you unleash the healing power of green juices? The new you in just 4 days. The4daycleanse.com. Further, as the stress thermometer accumulates, now we're hitting the blood. So changes in the blood are going to be things like high cholesterol, high triglycerides, low blood sugar, high blood sugar, okay? Anemia, not enough white blood cells, too many white blood cells. Again, these are signs of being out of balance or homeostasis, and this is not good. This is dis-ease. And now we're heading toward the worst, which is disease. So after blood is tissue. So these are going to be things like endometriosis, the ulcers, the lazy, lax ligaments, colitis, Crohn's. These are the top things people come to see me for. And liver enzymes being out of balance. These are examples of tissue changes. And then before death, the last stop on this stress thermometer is disease. So heart disease, kidney disease, diabetes, cancers, and so on. So what can you do to lower yourself on that thermometer, bring yourself closer to blue? Well, I like to use the acronym DREAM, DREAM. And this is an acronym that's very simplistic, and it doesn't have to be complicated. And D stands for diet. Get rid of the 5 belly busters. These are pork, peanuts, corn, soy, and wheat. Pork, because it's very hard to digest. These 5 belly busters are, from what I have seen in clinical practice, I am still in practice. 4 days a week, I am here. And I've done this for 17 years. And I've accumulated this evidence. And I can tell you, pork is not a food you should really be consuming, okay? Especially if you have any kind of stress or notable diarrhea or any kind of a loose stool. Peanuts, because they have a mold called aflatoxin. Aflatoxin, AFLATOXIN. There's a lot of research out there. You could check that out. This primarily is because peanuts grown in like South Carolina, Georgia, have a lot of humidity where this mold is very much conducive to grow. Whereas if you had nuts from Valencia, which is from New Mexico, this is a better chance of not having this mold at all because it's more dry, arid climate. So that's number 2, pork, peanuts, corn, and soy because they're highly genetically modified. And the final is wheat. So wheat is more like a hybridized, kind of similar to genetically modified, but a bit different. So this means white flour too. There are a lot of people that I see who don't think that white flour is wheat. And so maybe some of you might find that amusing, but this is something that commonly patients will say to me, that they think they could have pita bread because it's white. It's not wheat, but yes, it is. Okay. So that's something that you could do is D for diet. R is for rest. We talked about the importance of sleep and that it is the second stress on the thermometer behind muscle contractions are sleep disorders. So this is where we reboot. This is where we recharge. Essential. The E in the acronym DREAM stands for exercise. We need to get moving. Motion is life. Okay? Motion is life. A stands for attitude. Your thoughts are so key here. They are so pivotal to how well you react with the world. So if you have a mindset of fear and lack and poverty, this is what you're going to attract to your life as well. This is not absolute, right? But if you generally have a mindset of positivity, abundance, service, gratitude, this is going to bode well for your health. There's no mistaking that. And M stands for a masterful nervous system. Understand that your nervous system controls every cell, muscle, tissue, organ, system in your body. Being that we are electrical, as I said before, the nervous system is your electricity. Our organs and muscles do nothing if the nerves don't innervate them and create life and create animation to them. So we are electrical beings. We have a stress thermometer that we could be very much in control of to an extent. And there are those 5 pivotal things that you can do in your life that can make a big difference. Diet, rest, exercise, attitude, and a masterful nervous system. So this is why I recommend getting chiropractic adjustments for sure. And I would be remiss to not mention the absolute significance of digestion. As I said in this podcast, the common phrase, you are what you eat, so not true. That is so false. You are what you digest. And so we really need to be looking more at what's going on with our gut. 80 to 90% of your immune system resides in your gut. This has a lot to do with your overall health and your overall function. I mean, imagine the things that you are eating and drinking are converted into your tissues, into your muscles, into your organs. That's significant when you really think of it this way. So you need to understand that just because you're putting it in your mouth does not mean your body is going to effectively receive it. So I gave you an acronym DREAM, which is a really basic template to the road to health, really. But even more focused attention should be placed on the role of digestion. Are you taking digestive enzymes? Are you drinking enough water? Are you putting ice in your drinks? That's not good. That cools down the stomach temperature far too much. What are you doing while you're eating? Are you rushing? Are you stressed? Are you nervous? Are you tense? These are things that you need to really revise if you are doing them. So I hope that you have enjoyed this podcast. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions over on my Facebook page, which is The Digestion Doc. Twitter, Instagram, all the same. And thank you for listening once again, and I will check you next time. Alrighty then, another episode of Smart Digestion Radio is in the books. However, the conversation never stops there. Great hubs to connect with me are going to be my Facebook page, which is The Digestion Doc. That's my handle on Twitter and Instagram as well. If you are interested in joining my community, my private inner circle over on Facebook, go to healthyrebelsfb.com. That's healthyrebelsfb.com. And my other main sites are thedigestiondoctor.com and omegadigestion.com. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being a part of the mission. My mission is to save 5 million lives from the broken medical model, and I cannot do it alone. So thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time.